We're joined once again by retired Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar. Ryan, we have a lot to get into. So first of all, thank you so much for being here and coming back on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Come back and having the opportunity.
Yeah. So welcome back to Washington, D.C. We're recording this early in the morning on Wednesday. You're headed from here down to the United States Senate. And by the time this show airs, the hearing that you're going to will have already begun. What's your plan there? Can you tell us anything about what brought you to Washington?
So today, Senate is back in session. They returned for the 119th Second Congress on Monday. Administrative work yesterday. Today, the Senate and the House are back into sessions. Today at 10 o'clock will be the Foreign Affairs Committee discussing nominations to be presented moving forward. So kind of somewhat business work, but also kind of the start of business for the Foreign Affairs Committee. And the Foreign Affairs Committee, in my particular interest, is crucial in how the United States continues to back, fund, support what's going on in Gaza. So my goal is to ensure that our lawmakers, our representatives, the Congress that works for us, the people, is unquestionably aware of what the truth is in Gaza. And that there can't be any confusion as to, well, we didn't know, or we thought this, or we thought that. And hopefully, by being there through, I will disrupt the hearing, and that there is an acknowledgement, or at least going back, because the rest of this week and next week is all matters, in the House. So they're not actually having committee hearing meetings, so they'll take back and do work. So I'm hoping that by addressing this now in a more elevated way, that it'll be discussed and lawmakers will actually put some serious effort into what we're going to do.
Is it a strange position to find yourself in right now, being so upset about what you see, that you're willing to disrupt congressional hearings? Is this a position you ever thought you'd find yourself in? And
also, I assumed, by the way, that everybody watching this is familiar with your work. We'll just let people know who are just tuning in. You were a contractor at the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and so-called aid distribution sites, and have been speaking out about the killings and the starvation policy that you've seen unfolding there. So if you're new, that's what we're talking about here.
Go click on the interview with Sagar and Crystal, catch yourself up, and then come right back here.
Pause this, Google, go watch that. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a strange situation. It's a situation that I did not necessarily think I'd find myself in terms of standing up for what's right, standing up for the values and the ideals of humanity. But a weird position I find myself in, that what's happening in Gaza is happening. It's mind-blowing to me that the world has stood by for so long and has done nothing but write stern letters or made statements on media. But the great nations of the world have the ability to do something, and we haven't. And when I first went to Gaza, I was aware of the ongoing conflict. I was aware of both sides of the position in terms of, well, this is what Hamas has done. This is what Israel's doing. There's a lot of narrative. There's a lot of rhetoric. It's very difficult as it was for myself and for the average American, to cut through what's truth and what's not.
And you were sort of generally favorable to Israel when you went over, right?
In all honesty, yes. As a military officer in the United States Army, we are trained and somewhat brought up in officer education that Israel is an army that we should emulate. They're an army that we should, that is as professional as we are, and they are these partners that we should strive to work with. And so yes, when I went to Israel, I kind of had that initial perception of, that, okay, what Israel's fighting a war. War is complex and complicated. There's a problem with starvation. They didn't let the UN go in anymore because they're giving food to Hamas. What's true, what's not.
Right.
And so me going there, I really was focused on, I can't control the political aspects of food going in or not. But what I can be a part of is providing aid to a desperate and in-need population, regardless of the politics.
Right.
The people of the Palestinians are dying. So that was my premise for going in. I was lied to. We were lied to, all of the contractors that went there. It was not a mechanism to provide aid to the population. So yes, I first went in kind of, if you were to put me in a camp on day one, the 24th of May going into Gaza, I probably would have fallen to the side of the pro-Israel side. And that's just me being completely transparent and honest. That's the military culture that I spent my career in.
And you and I were talking just before you came on here about meetings that you've been having outside of the Senate one, but more above board meetings. You said you had some interviews with the ICC. Can you tell us a little bit about what they're curious about, and what are they looking into that relates to your work there?
So when you particularly look at the ICC, and there are numerous entities, offices, and organizations that are now taking a deeper look into this cloak and dagger organization of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The ICC particularly is looking at the aspects of the violations of international humanitarian law. The core of the international humanitarian law that Israel is a signature to are the protocols of the Geneva Convention. Mm-hmm. So if you have this large body of law that is the international humanitarian law, you know, the meat of it in terms of how we fight wars is the protocols of the Geneva Convention. And the ICC, like many who are informed and aware of these conventions and these laws and these protocols, is that there are clear violations of this in terms of forced displacement, starvation, not providing water. And these things are all articles of the protocols that are identified by specifically, like, you have to give civilians water. You have to feed civilians. You have to safeguard civilians. You can't displace civilians. You can't do A, B, and C. So it's very rational in its approach. Now, where the investigations come to, which will take the voice of the world, is that how do you then establish intent? So if I'm in an unfortunate situation where someone's killed, just say, you know, in my everyday life, I don't immediately get charged with first-degree murder and go to jail. There's a trial, there's an investigation. You know, what was the intent? What was the situation, right? But I think at this point it's very, very, very clear that Israel's involvement in Gaza and how this war is being fought, it's no longer a war. This is not a war. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. And that the body of evidence that now looks to the reality that we see every day, we are seeing a genocide occur every day in front of our eyes on the world stage, is that it was planned from the beginning. This has always been the plan. It's premeditated. It's designed. And unfortunately, the United States is a part of it.
I want to ask, we can put this element up on the screen, if you saw anything related to these new allegations about forced disappearances. Actually, the word they're using is, quote, enforced disappearances of Palestinians at aid distribution sites in Gaza. As the Times of Israel reports, the allegations are that the military lawfully detains individuals who approach aid compounds after hours or in ways that endanger its forces. Now, unlawfully is probably the best way to frame the allegation. Now, Israel is saying the claim of the forced disappearance of Gaza residents in aid compounds is baseless and entirely unfounded, according to a statement. But these are particularly about those Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites. So did you see anything that would lead you to believe that these allegations of enforced disappearances of Palestinians are actually happening?
Without question. Not only did I witness it, but they're on the ground in terms of the plan and how things are enacted. Two data points I would say that give me a clear understanding of that. One, the the response from Israel and the IDF, very similar and parallel to the GHF's response to any and every allegation, is always, that's baseless, that's categorically false. Last week when we saw a hospital struck, and then there's irrefutable evidence from what occurred. But up until the Israelis were faced with irrefutable evidence and they apologized it as a mishap, what did they say?
Oh, yeah.
That's categorically false. That didn't happen.
We don't do that.
You're lying. We don't do that. And the world saw it. So when the IDF says they didn't do it or they didn't do something, that's like asking a criminal to adjourn their own trial. Like, oh, nothing to see here. It's like you did it. So let's take that with a grain of salt, that when Israel or the GHF say this is categorically false or this is not true. So what is true is that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, through Safe Reach Solutions and UG Solutions, Safe Reach Solutions and UG Solutions in Israel and Gaza, from day one, from the very beginning, they implemented biometric facial recognition data collection from day one and began building out these extensive POIs, persons of interest databases of anyone that looked like Hamas.
And were you, as a contractor at GHF, expected to sort of have a recollection of who might be a POI or be aware of who might be a POI?
We were, yes. So in the first few days of distribution, we were told very clearly by the Safe Reach Solutions intelligence analysts. Why does a humanitarian assistance operation have an intelligence analyst? We were told, kind of give us in this briefing of look for these things, look for these things, be aware of this.
What do you look for? Like, what do they say makes a person Hamas at an aid site?
I feel like I'm reliving lessons that we learned long ago when I was in Iraq, Afghanistan, the early days. Let's look for the MAMs, military-aged males.
Which
that
also
becomes the
catch-all.
Right.
The catch-all.
If you look at the videos, and if you also just use your common sense, these sites are, you tell me, 5 to 15 kilometers away from where people are staying.
Yes.
The person in the family who's going to be able to make that journey and then make it back is going to be the MAM, the military-aged male, the person
Typically someone in the family that's capable.
And so if you look at the videos, and I'm curious from your perspective, you had actually eyes on the ground, in the videos, most of the people are military-aged males, which makes sense, because those are the ones that can hike all the way through the desert in the middle of the night.
It's very difficult to get there.
Yeah. So almost everybody then fits the category that they're describing as potentially Hamas, it sounds like.
And what you will see now, and again, the proof is in the reality of what we're seeing. In the beginning days of distribution, what GHF, under the umbrella in coordination with the IDF, called Phase 1. Phase 1, establish the sites, run the sites, and begin collecting data. It was never about humanitarian aid. Start building these persons of interest mugshots. They even call them that, mugshots. Already
so when they get a
insinuating.
Package, take a photo.
So if you're, facial recognition software, cameras on site
set
that
up,
are doing
so
that,
they're
they're set
getting
up to
everybody.
look for certain characteristics, right? Now, what you will see in the distribution that's happening now with people that are coming down to the south to this large 2.7 kilometer area concentration camp that GHF is running. They call it a humanitarian village. But when you displace a population and you concentrate them in an area and you put them on a camp, that has a name. It's a concentration camp. So when you look at how that was being done, now the majority of Palestinians coming to the sites are women and children or elderly, because that's all that's left. Because what wasn't advertised and wasn't told is that if you leave your house and you're going to site 1, 2, or 3, sites 1, 2, and 3 are all south of the Marag corridor, which is a militarized corridor that bisects the southern portion from the central. Well, if you want to go to site 1, 2, or 3 to get food, you have to cross that corridor. Once you cross that corridor, you don't go home. You cross the corridor, you go to get your food. On your way back, and you hit the intersection of a site in the Marag corridor, you're assigned to one of the encampments, Yunus camp, Mawasi camp. You never go home. So then your family,
This is the trap that my colleague Jeremy Scarehill described.
It's a trap.
As being set up.
it's a trap. And then it's a one-way trap. And then your family that's back home or already in a UN encampment, a lot of the people that came to get food from these sites were already in UN encampments. UN encampments that, oh, by the way, are not being managed by the UN. So, because the UN is out. So it was designed that way, and it will continue.
And did you see people detained and interrogated? And could that be related to these enforced disappearances?
That's what the claim
Yeah.
from the IDF is. If the initial field questioning, people come in after hours and are around the compound, they say if the initial field questioning raises suspicion that a detainee has engaged in activity against our forces, the suspect is transferred for further interrogation in Israel. Detainees for whom there is no justification for detention are released into the Gaza Strip, while those for whom grounds exist for continued detention in accordance with the law are brought before a judge and are entitled to legal representation as provided by law. That's the claim.
And to this, can you add the context of, they say after hours, but how do people know when the hours are? And how consistent are these hours?
That is a great question, because the truth is they don't. It's all left to obscurity and confusion to, kind of like I equate it to like if you were trying to get your taxes done at the DMV. It's like, which line do I go to? Like, where does this exist? How do I do this?
What are
It's
the
like, oh, well,
hours?
that building's over there. What are the hours? Oh, we're only open every fourth Sunday, right? You're like,
And sometimes
what?
every
Sometimes
third, yeah.
we close for lunch 8 days a week. You know?
And we'll let
So-
you know when we close.
We'll let you know. So
Yeah.
it's like it's intentionally designed to be confusing and cryptic in how it's being done. Now, to the point of the actual detention, one anecdote I witnessed, one I did not witness, but I'm intimately familiar with. I'll start with the latest, the latter. Middle Eastern Eye. They have a reporter that was recently killed who was in Nasser Hospital. That reporter that did the story about Amir, the story that was broke about my interaction with Amir, the person that then followed through on that story, because GHF came out and said, "Oh, he's fine. Here he is," and showed a different boy altogether. So Middle Eastern Eye, who's in Gaza, followed that up and found his mother, and talked to his mother. And days later, last week, that individual, that reporter, the person that wrote that story, who is further looking into the disappearance of Amir, where's his body, was detained and questioned on site number 3, the Khan Yunis site. Then further detained, and then
That was
a few
Mohammed
days
Salama,
later,
right?
yes,
It was
sir.
Mohammed-
That is correct.
Mohammed-
Yes, sir.
Mohammed Salama. Look up his. He did some great reporting on
Yes.
the 16 medics that were killed in Rafah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. He was killed
Yeah.
in the Nasser hospital
Right.
hit.
Right.
Was
so
it-
then they detained a source of his. Right. So go ahead
Yes,
with your story.
they detained a source of his, specifically trying to find out where he was.
Right.
And then days later, he, as well as others, are hit in Nasser Hospital, which is directly north of Khan Yunis. So when you put these pieces together, it seems awfully convenient.
Yeah.
And now, I did not witness that, but it's reported.
Right.
And the individual that was his source is dead. What I did witness was in early June, an individual who worked at the site number 2, distribution site 2, which is in southern Rafah. The Kogat, the organization out of the Ministry of Defense of Israel that covers governance and the territories, they had aligned Palestinian workers, Palestinians that live in Gaza, that got vetted through them to then work for us at these sites. And in that time, within like the first couple of days of distribution, one of their buses was hit. And apparently that was blamed on Hamas. There's no, Hamas cannot operate in the area that far south of the Morag corridor unless the Israelis let them. There's just, you can't.
Right. Because you're talking about 5 to 15 kilometers through the desert with total drone surveillance
Total drone surveillance.
and no tunnel network.
Tanks.
Right.
Infantry. Tunnels have been destroyed. Full coverage, and everything is flattened. You're not looking at a city.
Right.
So For Hamas to openly have operated and shot up this bus of 25 Palestinian workers in late May, early June, the only way that could have happened is if the IDF led it. Or it didn't happen and they were killed another way, because how do we know? So on this particular incident, on this day in early June at site number 2, I cannot recall the exact date, but we got a call from Kogat, a radio phone call from Kogat to our operations center that said, one of the local Palestinian workers on site 2 is Hamas. And our position on it was like, you're the ones that vetted him.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, hey, I brought a guest to your house and man, he's a jerk. You brought him.
Right.
Like, he's your guest.
Yes.
So these people that were here that were working on the site, Kogat says, oh, one of them's Hamas. Okay, well, how do you do that? Like, if I pat him down, does he have his Hamas membership card? If I take off his shirt, is he wearing a Hamas t-shirt? How do you know that? Well, he has connections. Really. So, GHF, UG Solutions, American contractors who, mind you, are in Israel, in Gaza on a tourist visa,
Right.
detained this man and would not let him leave until the IDF said he could leave. Took his passport, took any of his identification, would not let him leave. And he was under the control of UG Solutions until the IDF told us that he could either leave or he was going to be taken away by the IDF. And this prolonged to the point to where it's almost as if the IDF wanted to tire us out or wait us out to say like, oh, we'll just come and get him. But then later at the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, remember, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's hunting season, if you will, for the IDF out there. It gives them the perfect excuse that anybody out moving around, well, they must be bad. So this man gets released. Go back home. And he begged, cried, and begged not to be put off the site and just he was like, I live all the way in Barish, which is north by the Netzarim corridor. I can't get home from here. I'm going to get killed.
Right.
Either, by Hamas for supporting this effort or by the IDF. And this man was released and set out from the site to his own device, to his own devices. And moments later, north of the site, now I didn't see a drone strike or a missile strike hit this individual, but moments later, as he left the site in the area that he was walking, there was a strike. So is it any doubt to me that the UG Solutions under Gaza Humanitarian Fund are part of this detention and extra questioning tactic, Gestapo tactics, if you will? They absolutely are. Americans on tourist visas are detaining people on behalf of the IDF. That should be very concerning to any American that is paying their tax dollars towards this effort.
Yeah, and also for the men or women who, it's all men. Is there any women there?
Oh, of the Palestinian workers?
Contractors, I mean. Any of the contractors?
Oh, from UG Solutions?
Yeah.
During my time there, it was all men.
Yeah.
There weren't, I can't say what there is now.
These men went there on a tourist visa and participated in murdering somebody, most likely.
Participated in murder, participated as elements, as tools of a planned genocide and a planned forced displacement. The bait, the anecdote you gave, or the analogy you gave of the bait, well, if you think about bait in a mousetrap, well, the people guarding that bait to bring everybody in are American contractors.
Right. Now, we could put up this second element on the screen. The Washington Post has finally followed the Financial Times and some of its reporting on the Boston Consulting Group and others who have put together plans that they say are circulating among administration officials that would see basically the population of Gaza expelled. There would be some opportunity. Some Gazans would get a token, and they could use a token to come back and buy like an apartment in a future Gulfified Gaza that would be the Riviera that Trump has talked about. This plan even included from north to south, what they call an MBS highway, east to west, like an MBZ highway named after Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Zayed of the UAE, trying to get their buy-in by naming streets after them. So the plans are advanced for a post-Palestinian Gaza. As you witness what's going on the ground unfold, do you think that it is past the point of no return, or do you think that the clock is still ticking on whatever the strategy is?
The clock is still ticking, but we are seconds away from that clock striking midnight. There is time for the world to make a humane decision, but there's also time to do nothing, as we've been doing as a world community. The final solution, if you will, in this greater plan, this plan for a post-war Gaza and what that would look like with this real estate venture, the Riviera, tech parks, and all these things, things that your voluntary Palestinian would not want. They want to live in their land. So, one, this notion of we're going to kill everybody, consolidate them, move them out, rebuild their homeland, and then give them a token to come back in. That's laughable. And then this aspect of the plan has always been, from before we even opened the sites, the Boston BCG, Boston Consulting Group, had already developed this plan for this post-war real estate venture. That was already planned. That's not something that came about in the last weeks, like, oh, we did this. That was the plan from the beginning. So what that will look like in Gaza is the forced displacement of the entire population. And we don't have much time left, because the final phase of that, the final solution to rid Gaza of all Palestinians, is already happening. Operation Gideon's Chariots 2 in the north, to clear Gaza City, to Jabalia, to Erez. That was not supposed to begin operationally until the end of September, because the IDF has to call up 60,000 reserves. Right. They have people that aren't wanting to fight. They don't have the forces to execute that offensive in an actual military way. They're just going to use bombing.
Yeah. Last night they were dropping incendiary devices on tents.
Yes.
Burning tents. So
that is the UN tent in the north.
Do you suspect that that's happening because they don't have the manpower?
Absolutely.
But they can drop bombs.
They are critically short on manpower, especially in the north, for an offensive. And calling up 60,000 reserves that you don't have time to train or prepare. Israel knows that putting Israelis, I think yesterday or the day before, there was the article about the ultra-Orthodox that have been forced into service. If they go into the offensive on the ground and try to fight this in a way that a moral army would fight this war, a lot of people will die. A lot of Israelis will die. And Israel is not going to stand for that. So they're going to bomb. The reason I feel that we have time but not much, as in within the next 19 days, 20 days, the question of a Palestinian state, or the question of the Palestinians' existence and the right to exist, won't even be a question if we don't do something now. Because Operation Gideon's Chariots 2, they started it a month early. The 60,000 reserve call-up, they're bringing them in, but they've already started the bombing campaign. And they're not only coming from the south, they're coming from the north. They're halving the time and how long it would have taken them. So before the Palestinian question comes to the UN General Assembly on the 22nd of September, it's likely that if the world doesn't condemn this displacement and the starvation and stop the war, it is highly likely that there will not even be a question of a Palestinian state come the 22nd of September. We won't be discussing...
When the UN meets. And
the UN General Assembly meets. We won't be discussing a future of Palestine. We will be discussing the memoriam of millions that have died.
Yeah.
Well, retired Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar, you're heading to Capitol Hill. Thank you for stopping by our show once again.
Absolutely.
On your way.
Love what y'all do, and thank you for having me.
Always welcome here. Thanks for coming.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.